Hello, friends. Welcome to the Jerry and Skeeter podcast, where we talk about everything and anything we want. If you enjoy the podcast, feel free to subscribe. Now let's begin with today's topic.
Spooky Sessions! Episode 2!
Yay!
Yeah, that was so obnoxious. I'm glad that we had a discussion over.
I can do it.
I thought you were gonna
that was a
do
solid
some-
3. Like, I could go higher.
No, please don't. Your mic probably won't pick it up.
It's like, I mean, I was expecting some or some shit, but
No, that's next week.
That's nice.
I'll get deep.
oh
Okay.
my gosh.
No,
I really
that's-
hope you can't hear my
Lisa.
cat meowing in the background.
Anyway,
Who's starting?
I saw your mug, Ma!
Well, I guess I'll start then.
You're splashing your mug, if you know what I mean.
No.
Okay. I got this at Spirit Halloween. Today is the first day that I've used it. And it's already cracked.
What?
Because apparently it can't stand the heat, so super fun. But I am
we
drinking
fight people.
coffee mixed with hot chocolate
Oh,
and a little bit of
yummy.
Sounds so good.
It's a good time.
I was gonna go first anyways because it's the same cup as last time, but for a reason, because I'm a Hufflepuff student. I kind of dressed up today, so I was like,
Like, wait, we can use the same mug? I went out ahead to buy mugs for them.
oh, I have
You're
one in my
welcome.
Amazon cart list or cart. I'm waiting for the government to pay me my $150 for my ear ringing.
mugs.
Tinnitus.
Yeah.
Good times. All right.
So my mug that I got is an oversized,
I love it.
and it is like oversized, like it is
Huge.
large.
So basically a Jerry-sized mug.
Yeah.
Which I'm drinking Dr. Pepper out of. But, you know, we classy, so it's fine.
We classy here.
I don't know if I would go that far, but okay.
I was gonna Tim was like, you can put the chili in it and eat chili. I was like, I'm not eating chili on a podcast. That's a whole nother level.
I'm-
And
You could. I'd do it.
you could. And then I was gonna make tea, and I got too lazy to make tea, so I just poured a Dr. Pepper.
Dude, I think that half the time, whenever I use my coffee pot anymore, it's like half the time I'm making coffee, half the time I'm just using it to heat up water because I don't have a kettle. And so, so I'm heating up water to put in my French press or make coffee or like hot chocolate or something. So,
Definitely becoming that time of year to make hot chocolates. So excited. I love hot chocolate.
I was
You
also
can't-
super tired this morning, and I've had like a super long day. And so I fell asleep on the couch for 30 minutes before this, and I was like, I should probably get some coffee in my system so I don't fall asleep. So
Peter was worried about me. I was like, she's like, you need some caffeine. I was like, oh, no. I'm just like, I'm zenning right now. I'll be good.
So who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Because you're doing Ouija board.
I'm talking about
wait,
Ouija
no, I
boards.
thought we said she would go last.
That's exactly why I said I'll go first.
No. I mean, if she goes first, we get him out of the way.
That's true.
The devil won't take us. He'll still take us, but we'll get it over with.
I don't know if people can tell, but me and Jess are not really fans of Ouija boards.
I will literally not go the
lizard
same room as
tongue.
one.
I'm
Facts.
dancing on your bridge, goat man.
Oh my gosh.
If I could be guaranteed positive spirits, I would have no problem with it. Like, I would have no problem with communicating. You know, I believe in that stuff to where I know their spirits, and I like being open to those kind of feels. If I could guarantee that it was going to be positive only, I'd be fine with it. But it's like, my luck. My ass is going to summon, like, a demon and destroy us all, you know? Like, it's just not for me. I don't know. They scare me. A lot.
So your history of Ouija boards, I guess, goes first.
Okay. Okay, so I will say
faces we just made.
I feel very tired.
It's okay.
Okay, I will say when I first started looking into this, I was kind of on like a similar path as like what you guys probably think of as like spirits and things like that. Doing research for this has completely shifted my opinion. I no longer believe in Ouija boards and they no longer scare me.
Okay.
Maybe I can help you guys out with these unresolved emotions, you know. Okay. So, first of all, the American 19th century was obsessed with spiritualism. In 1848, the Fox sisters rose to fame hosting seances. And the Fox sisters are the people who made, like, the wiggling table, like, really popular. But it all turned out to be a hoax because they were obviously doing it themselves. The reason why spiritualism and seances became really popular in the mid-1800s was because death was, like, super common. The average lifespan was less than 50. Women were dying in childbirth. Men were dying of diseases and war because this is right around the Civil War era. In fact, Mary Todd Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln's wife, would host seances in the White House when their 11-year-old son passed.
Isn't the White House, like, super haunted?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I was looking at the East Coast, like, most haunted places. The White House came up. I was like, I don't know.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
So their 11-year-old died in 1862 of a fever. The Civil War saw a rise in many communities, like spiritualism and seances, because people were going off to war and not coming back. And so it was kind of a relief, you know? It was just kind of like, gave some closure. Robert Murch was the Ouija historian that I got a lot of my information from. He said that communicating with the dead was common and not seen as bizarre or strange. So it was just every day. There was people all over the country practicing spiritualism, and Christians, pagans, anybody. So it was not uncommon to host a seance Saturday night and then go to church on Sunday morning. So in February 1891, the first Ouija board was created. It sold for $1.50, which today's dollars is $45. It's a lot of money for a board game. It was created by a Kennard novelty. It was created by a Kennard novelty company and was simply exploiting America's obsession with spiritualism in a get-rich-quick scheme. It was marketing to a target audience perfectly. The celebrity status of the Fox sisters, who adopted the spirit boards and would use them in their seances, also helped with marketing. The rise of popularity was also influenced by wanting a quick way to communicate with spirits. Because everybody back then, what they were doing is they had like letters on a board and they would wait until something knocked on the table, aka one of the Fox sisters went. So interestingly enough, Charles Kennard was from Baltimore, Maryland, which I don't know if you guys know this, but Edgar Allan Poe was also from Maryland, so I like Baltimore, so Baltimore is kind of dark and spooky, and I really miss it now. He used an article in 1890 to pull investors, including Elijah Bond and Colonel Bowie, even though none of them were spiritualists. They were just businessmen. And they were like, oh, we can capitalize on this. So they did, and they made a lot of money. To get the patent was interesting, because one of the patent officers required the board to spell his name, which is apparently difficult to spell and unknown to all of the investors that were presenting the board. And the board spelt out the name. However, Elijah Bond, which was one of the investors, was a patent attorney and had most likely seen this officer's name on paperwork that he dealt with every single day as a patent attorney. So, yeah. They received the patent in 1891. Because of the popularity, the company grew from one factory in Baltimore in 1892 to, in 1 year, 2 in Baltimore, 2 in New York, 2 in Chicago, and 1 in London. By 1893, both Bond and Kennard had left the company because they both had outstanding debts that neither of them could pay, apparently. So it fell to a shareholder, William Fuld. Now, Colonel Bowie, which was also one of the majority shareholders, sold his entire shareholder to Fuld for $1. Fuld died in 1927 after a freak accident where he fell from the roof of his new building, which apparently the Ouija board told him to build, and he died feet away from where his Ouija board was being manufactured.
That's
Ouija
not...
boards-
You don't think that's suspicious?
That's weird.
No.
That's suspicious.
That's suspicious.
Okay.
That
A
was...
lizard tongue. I'm dancing on your bridge, goat man.
As Gibbs says, there's no such thing as coincidence. I've been on an NCIS trip lately.
I mean, I honestly feel like that could be like
He fell
You don't
off
think that's
the top
weird?
of his building. Like
that the Ouija board
told him to build.
build.
It's sus as fuck.
I mean, it was also 1927. So, manufacturing things and, you know, the Great Depression was coming. So, you know, all sorts of things were happening that could have convinced him to jump off his building. Just saying.
Yeah, like a devil whispering in his ear.
Stressful running a successful business.
Was it successful if 2 people couldn't pay their debts? And
I mean, 6 manufacturing plants say yes. Okay?
Okay, sorry, continue.
Ouija boards were actually not taken seriously at all. They were just kind of, they were there, people believed in them, and nobody really put too much thought into it. In fact, in 1951, November of 1951, the popular comedy TV show I Love Lucy showed a seance held by Lucy and Ethel where the board was utilized. However, as time progressed and movies got better, in my opinion, the real turn where the Ouija board became like a spirit for dark or like whatever, I don't know, whatever shit freaks you guys out about Ouija board really became prominent in 1973 when The Exorcist was released. Now, The Exorcist came out and that was a horror movie, which coupled with the claim that the movie was based on a true story scared people. The movie claimed the girl was possessed by a demon after playing with a Ouija board. It changed how the board was seen. Basically, overnight, the board became marked as a tool of the devil, and horror movie makers played a big hand in how Ouija boards are seen and capitalized on the fear that they created. Fear that used to be innocent superstition. Culturally, in the past, the board was used by spiritualists, Christians, and any other belief system universally. By 2001, religious groups denounced the board as Satan's preferred method of communication, and it was being burned in bonfires in New Mexico alongside with Harry Potter books and copies of Disney's Snow White. So, of course, now that we're using the Ouija board to instill fear in people, the Catholic Church jumped right on that train, which was something that the Catholic Church tends to do. Hence Christmas and Halloween. For those of you who don't know, look into it. Okay, so now we're getting to the modern times. So Dr. Ron Resnick, professor of psychology and computer science, and Dr. Sidney Fells, professor of electrical and computer engineering, did a study about what actually happens when people sit down at a spirit board. The participants were told they were playing with another person in a room via teleconference. The robot in the other room was actually built to mimic and maximize the movements of the participants. They were asked yes and no questions that were all fact-based, and they expected the board to answer. They were also asked to answer via guessing. The guessing accuracy was 50%. The board accuracy was 65%. The Ouija's movement is based off a person's unconscious movements they don't realize that they're making. And the Ouija board does connect people to the unknown. It just happens to be your subconscious, not any sort of spirit. And see.
I mean, no, I mean, I can understand that, because if you want to connect to something, you want to, like, see people, or, for instance, like, I know somebody who had a really traumatic death recently. Not they died, but, like, their fiance died. And, she uses a Ouija board to, like, talk to him, to the point where, like, she won't leave her house now because she thinks she can communicate with him. So I could see that. I could see her, like, using the subconscious desire to talk to him to, like, move it. And it's funny because my aunt and I've had this conversation before, and she's like, why are you scared of it? It's literally, they classify it as a toy. And it's, I don't know, maybe it is. Maybe it's, like, the upbringing thing. That, like...
The thing is, for me, is I was obviously, from, you know, my family and my background and where I come from, I was told Ouija boards are the devil and blah, 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 and all this different stuff. And after actually doing research, I realized Ouija boards are full of bullshit. They're bullshit. You put your hands on the fucking, the thingy, the planchette, and you literally don't even realize you're moving because your subconscious wants something to happen, so you can freak yourself out.
Well, it's like, if anybody is like what is that word? Susceptible?
Susceptible?
That like, that's what it is. Like if you go to like a hypnotherapist, like entertainment show or whatever, and if you're susceptible, you believe in it, it's gonna take. But if you don't believe in it, it's not gonna do anything. So it's like kind of like the same premise, where like if you believe that it's gonna move it, you're subconsciously gonna move it.
Right. Which is why during seances they have to go and do basically a disclaimer. It's like, oh, if your heart is closed off to the spirits that surround us, then nothing's gonna happen. It's like, no shit, Karen.
So you don't believe in it at all?
Not anymore.
Not the Ouija board, like seances or spirits or anything. Like, you don't believe in those at all?
I do believe in spirits. I don't believe they're here. I don't think that spirits walk the earth alongside us. Absolutely not.
I have 1,010% felt my great-grandmother at least like 3 or 4 times, like in the last couple of years. Like, I know for to the point where I smelled her old house. Like, I was outside, I was struggling, sobbing, and I just didn't know where. I was so lost. And I swear to you, I felt something hug me. I smelt her house, and I was like it was just you couldn't explain it. Like, it was crazy to me. And I know she's my guardian angel. And she's had a workout, right? She's helped me alive through a lot of shit. And I'm like, I'm sorry, great grandma, I'm sorry. But, like, she raised me. She taught me how to read. So, like, she's got my back, and I appreciate it. But I definitely believe in that kind of stuff.
I feel like our girls' trip is slowly turning from a beach trip to, like, a haunted house trip where Jess and I are trying to convince Jerry that ghosts are real.
I'm done.
So do you not believe in, like, spirit boxes and stuff like that? Because that shit scares me too.
No.
Like,
spirit boxes don't scare me, or like EVPs, or like EMS, because like that's more of like the scientific side, if that makes sense. Like, it's like science behind it.
It's pseudoscience.
But
it'll be interesting.
Listen,
I get nervous thinking about it.
I don't want to discount if somebody feels like obviously you have this emotional connection with your great grandma. I would never discount that if you feel like she's there or whatever. Personally, I think that I'd like to maybe look at your brain when one of these is happening, like see which parts of your brain are lighting up, because
I'm just really high.
yeah, you just smoking down. You're just like, fuck yeah, grandma, hug me, just hug me.
It may be because you think about it, like the whole like, because I still believe in God, so I hate organized religion. I think it's a whole hoax, and I'd love to go into that.
I think we're all on the same page on that.
But like, it's kind of the same thing when people are like, "Oh, well, I felt God's presence." Well, what is God's presence? Because to me, I felt it too, and it's moving, and it's love, and just like embracing, and like powerful. But like, you're right. What could that, like, scientifically? What could that be?
Yeah,
so,
and I think I was talking to Casey about this because I was explaining to her like what I was doing research for, and she was like, she asked me the exact same question you guys asked. Is like, do you believe in spirits? Do you believe in ghosts? And I was like, yeah. No, yes, but no. So basically what I think is that, like, when somebody passes, they do have a spirit, they do have a soul. I do believe that every human has one. I just believe that when they die, they're not glued to this plane. They're actually kind of booted out to a different plane. I do think that there is a parallel universe, like the spirit universe, that is like our Earth, but I do think that there are certain people who can communicate, like mediums and stuff, who can reach across that veil. But I don't believe that spirits actually are on the same plane as we are.
I like the upside down.
Yeah.
So let's say someone saw an apparition. Would you think that plane is like weaker there, or like the wall between the two is like weaker there, or like how would you like?
Potentially, but I also think that there are things that walk this earth that are not human.
Facts.
Oh yeah. What are those things like the Native Americans, skinwalkers? Mm-hmm. Oh my god, I've seen videos. Creepy. I 1,000% believe in those.
My family lives. I have family out in Utah, and they actually used to live on Skinwalker Ranch. So. Things were pretty common. Things happen. But the thing is like, I don't believe that's a human. Mm-mm. I don't. I think
no, definitely not. Mm-mm.
Not only do I don't think ghosts or like human spirits stay in this realm, but I do think that angels walk the earth, and I think demons walk the earth. So. Because there was like a story.
How do you get promoted to like angel though? You know, like because I don't know. Because I've always thought like my great grandmother was like the holiest person. I it was weird. There's a whole backstory of that too. But like, I swear she could have been a freaking angel. Like I do. Like she wasn't perfect, but close enough to it.
Yeah.
Like the woman was said, you have a week to live. 3 times, survived 5 different cancers when they literally said there's no other treatment, and she would like recover in a week. Like it was crazy, and she was like, I just wasn't done. I haven't touched enough people, and like you would walk in her house, it was like an aura of just like safety. It was so weird.
I mean, maybe she was like an named prophet, or like not a prophet, but like a person like that. Like,
but she wasn't an asshole about it either.
Yeah,
like, she didn't.
Prophets aren't assholes about it either.
I think of like Bible thumping people who like shove it down your throat.
That's not a prophet. That's like John the Baptist was a prophet, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm. And some religions believe that Jesus was a prophet.
Yeah, technically too. Jesus is a prophet. And what did Jesus do?
According to some religions, we're not trying to offend anyone. No, just calm your titties. All right? We're having an adult discussion. Sit down.
But yeah, and what did Jesus do? He just went around and, he didn't force it upon people, but the way he acted and the way he spoke to people spoke to them, and they wanted to follow. And of course, who doesn't love a party trick where you can turn water into wine?
No, or just like vibe out on the ocean, just being like, hey.
We're here.
Chris Angel before Chris Angel.
Off topic right now. Oh my god. Anyway.
I mean, it wouldn't be our podcast if we didn't you know. Who wants
Yeah,
to go
so
next?
I just don't.
yeah.
I don't really
Believe in it.
I mean,
I'm
that's fine.
unconvinced.
Tim's the same way. Tim, I don't think
you'll
Tim
have to
really believes in that stuff like that. So.
Oh my god. If we did
Yeah.
like a haunted mansion or a haunted house or something with you guys and me and Tim, that would be hilarious.
Oh
And actually,
my
might
god.
balance us out a little bit because he is very much a cynic as well. Like, he does not believe in that kind of stuff at all.
That would be so much fun, though.
He's like agnostic. He doesn't believe. He's very much like, I have to see it to
He
believe it
believes
kind
in
of thing.
asking questions.
Exactly. He's very much science based. Like, whenever I watch those ghost shows, he's like, "Oh, come on." I'm scared. I'm scared. Like, did you hear that? He's like, "Oh, Jesus Christ, Jess!" It was like they said it. Like,
I'm very much a Shane. I'm just very much. Oh, whoa, this is my bridge now.
My bridge now.
You
Go
pathetic whip. All right. Enough about me. Hey, that's a pretty good time. I thought it was gonna take a lot longer than that.
Yeah, pretty good.
do you want to finish it out here, or do you want to go next?
Doesn't matter to me. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Three!
6, 7. I have 8 pages.
Oh, you're talking pages. Oh, sweet Jesus!
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
I have 8 pages.
I have 4 typed, not double spaced.
Skeeter, you go next.
So who go? What?
Skeeter.
Me?
Skeeter, you go next.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cut me if it goes too long.
So my story this week is on the Missouri State Penitentiary. And I was actually watching one of my ghost shows while I was doing the dishes when this episode popped up, and I was like, oh my god, that has to be one of my stories, because it was like insane. So the Missouri State Penitentiary was a prison that operated from 1836 to 2004. It was known as the oldest continuously operating correctional institution west of the Mississippi River. And Missouri State Penitentiary is located in the capital city in Missouri, which is Jefferson City. Jefferson City was recently named the capital when the governor, John Miller, suggested that a state prison be built to basically cement Jefferson City as being the capital. So construction began in 1834, and it opened 2 years later in 1836. At first, it housed just 15 prisoners who worked in a shop making bricks. In the early years, the prison operated on a lease program where businessmen could hire inmates to work for them. Several buildings. Why do you always have to do this stuff during my...
We're paying attention.
Anywho, so several buildings in Jefferson City were built using prison labor, including the first Capitol building, the governor's mansion, and several area homes. In 1868, Housing Unit 4, or A Hall, was built to house post-Civil War criminals. It was built by inmates.
Can you run that name by me again?
A Hall. Hall. H-A-L-L. Hall.
Okay.
A Hall. They do have a hole, but we'll get to that.
Okay. I'm glad we clarified.
Solitary in this movie.
So Housing Unit 4 was built for Civil War criminals, and it was built by inmates using quarried stone on site. So the massive stone building is the oldest building at the prison that was continuously used until the day the prison closed. Its basement, so we're still talking about Housing Unit 4. Its basement, nicknamed The Hole, was a medieval style dungeon that housed some of the worst criminals, including death row inmates. So basically every housing unit had punishment cells in the basement,
Oh, wow. That's
And
interesting.
these specific ones had nothing in it. So, like, you would be sent to the hole, and there's nothing, no light, no nothing. Like, not a damn thing in the cell. Like, people would go crazy in there. There was one person that was in the hole for 17 years. He came out blind.
Yeah, no shit. It's crazy.
Did they
What
forget
did they
about
expect was gonna happen?
it? Like, God.
Did they have toilets?
No.
Probably just shit down a drain.
Gross.
Yeah, probably.
All right, Senora, 8 pages. Let's go.
Okay.
There's a hole. They got basement holes. They got holes all over the place.
So,
they got holes with nothing in them.
the prison had many factories that were worked by prison labor, including 6 shoe factories, clothing factory, broom factory, and twine factories, and the largest saddle tree factory in the world.
A saddle tree. Oh, like where they make saddles.
It's like a piece of the saddle, from my understanding.
Interesting.
But yeah. In 1936, 4,900 inmates were on record, although the highest amount was 5,200, far more than it was ever designed to hold. In 1937, a prison gas chamber was built. Before this, executions were done by hangings, and the gas chamber would be the location of 40 executions, including one of the only female executions by gas. Which
I want more information on her.
we'll talk about her. We will.
She seems cool. I want to hang out.
Well, she's still there, so. Through the
No,
years,
she's not where we're going.
through the years, there were many riots, murders, and escape attempts, and it is said that the guards would enact like the worst punishments ever. They would do whippings and stuff, but instead of like a regular whip, it would be like a cat of 9 tails with glass and metal on the ends.
Mm-hmm.
So it would like cut into the skin. It was bad.
They got a little bit big for their riches.
One of the riots was because there was a snitch and a bunch of prisoners didn't like him, so they started a riot and they went and murdered him in his cell.
Some snitches get stitches, some snitches just fucking die.
But because of the violence in the penitentiary, it was called the bloodiest 47 acres in America by the Time magazine in 1967.
Damn. That's...
Random fun fact, which I thought was kind of fake, but I looked up and it's not. So February 5th, 1911, the Capitol building caught fire from a lightning strike. A lightning strike struck.
There you go.
Struck the copper.
Speaking England real good today.
Struck the copper like dome and somehow like started a spark or fire or something. And so like members of parliament and were helping the firefighters like get all the documents and everything out. And also the prison fire brigade made up of prisoners was dispatched to help. So there was literally firemen, lawmakers, and prisoners fighting this fire. And they actually ended up like saving most of the documents and like historic relics that were in it. Like, so, I mean, that's impressive.
English is hard!
No, I'm just picturing like this big burly man who's murdered 13 men. Go get those W-2s. Make sure they don't catch fire. Oh my god. I can't believe I've lowered myself to this station.
Those W-2s are important.
Are they?
All right. So now I'm going to talk about a few infamous inmates that were housed here. just because they're interesting. So I wanted to throw them in there. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Charles Pretty Boy Floyd. He was known for his constant run-ins with the police and violent bank robberies. He arrived at Missouri State Penitentiary in 1925 after pleading guilty for his first offense, a $12,000 St. Louis payroll robbery.
Damn. You're right, those W-2s are important.
Told you.
It all comes full circle.
Imagine Floyd is one of the people that has to save these
God damn.
Oh my god.
Oh, goodness.
Holy shit.
Upon his release in 1929, he continued wreaking havoc across the Midwest, robbing banks and murdering in cold blood with a notorious band of outlaws. He was wanted for many murders and bank robberies in Missouri, Ohio, and Oklahoma.
Yay. What are we known for? Jesse James and cows.
Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the...
No, keep going. Keep going, because that's literally all the lyrics that I know.
Where the grain grows sweet and something and eat.
We all forget the lyrics to that song because nobody fucking cares what's in Oklahoma.
Oh my
Other
goodness.
than me, I'm here.
I like
Twitch.tv / What?
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 Oh my gosh. All right.
I'm the only interesting part of Oklahoma, is what I'm saying. I'm humble too.
Clearly. He was also suspected to be involved in an attempt to free a fellow outlaw, Frank Nash. This event also is known as the Kansas City Massacre. Basically, it was like a standoff, shoot-off with the police trying to free this guy. But unfortunately, 4 police officers and the prisoner were killed in the shoot-off. So, like...
A bunch of fucking idiots.
Yeah. After the massacre, Floyd became public enemy number 1, and a massive manhunt ensued. After eluding the police for a while, Floyd was found and was shot to death because, you know, he wasn't going to go down without a fight. So...
Did you just say shot to dead?
She did. I wasn't going to say anything.
Okay, sorry. Continue.
Listen, I fucked up so many words during my presentation, bitch.
Shot to dead was adorable.
I read it, I said it because I wrote it that way.
Oh,
Okay.
well, see, you fucked up twice.
I
like shot to death. I think I'm gonna use that voice,
I
right?
was writing this at like 3 or 4 in the morning, okay? So let me be.
Shot to dead. Got it. Dead. Gone.
Dead as a doornail.
After eluding the police, Floyd was found and he was shot to death because he wasn't gonna go down without a fight. So he was shot twice in the chest and basically left to die in a cornfield in Oklahoma. So
You didn't
fair.
Uh,
Also, corn doesn't really grow here. It's too dry.
Oh well, it's had
Oh, but they're in
cornfield, so
Oklahoma.
maybe it wasn't dry back then.
I thought they were in
Global warming.
Mississippi.
Huh?
He was wanted in Ohio, Missouri, and Oklahoma, and by the sounds of it, his gang would go like between Missouri and Oklahoma, running from the law.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's probably because the caverns in Missouri and Oklahoma. Those are a really good place to hide. A lot of outlaws, including Jesse James, would hide there.
Yeah. So, our next person we're going to talk about is James Earl Ray. Does the name ring a bell to anybody?
Wait.
Shh.
Yeah.
Don't say anything. Don't say anything.
Okay. Okay.
In 1959, Ray and an accomplice held up a Kroger store, which, for those of you who don't know, is a grocery store, in St. Louis. In St. Louis. Is it St. Louis or St. Louis?
St. Louis.
St. Louis? Okay. In St. Louis, and was convicted and sentenced to 20 years at Missouri State Penitentiary. Ray made many attempts to escape, with his last one being successful in 1967. He worked at the bakery in the prison and was helped into a large box that was used to ship loaves of bread. A truck came to pick up a supply and several boxes, one including Ray, and left the penitentiary. Bye-bye.
Now check the box.
What kind of do you know the Muffin Man bullshit? Holy Toledo. That's hilarious.
So, after the escape, for a year, Ray kept on the move. He moved throughout the US and Canada, and then eventually made his way to Mexico, but later ended up in Los Angeles. In March 1968, though,
That's a lot of gas money.
What?
That's a lot of gas money.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking you were free twice. You went to Canada and Mexico. You decided to come back here.
Yeah, I don't understand his thought process.
It's like, I'm gonna become a star.
But in March 1968, he decided to move to Atlanta, Georgia, and started to make a plan. Up until this moment, I have kept a very important part of Ray a secret. If you know, you know. James Earl Ray was a major racist and couldn't stomach new integration policies. So in April 1968, Ray went and bought a rifle and a scope with an alias. Then he drove to Memphis and rented a room. He stood in the bathtub of the bathroom, balanced his rifle on a window ledge, and shot and killed Martin Luther King Jr.
I didn't know history.
Ray fled but was eventually caught, and he confessed, although he would spend the rest of his life trying to recant his confession. And
What a dumbass.
apparently the King family believe him that he was innocent. There's like this whole conspiracy thing that I didn't want to dive down, but basically
that would have been a whole podcast by itself.
it would have. But he is known for killing him, so that's what he did.
The only reason I know that is because we were talking about it in government. Literally like a couple weeks ago.
He died in 1998 due to liver/kidney failure, still as a prisoner.
Shocking.
Shocking.
I was gonna say he seems like the type of cat I'd kick it with, and then that happened. I was like, nope.
Yeah. So
But I'll let you pay for me to go to Canada.
The last two people I'm going to talk about is actually a couple. Bonnie Heedy
Couple of dumbasses.
and Carl Hall.
I was gonna say Clyde.
Clyde, why?
Bonnie and Clyde.
Oh, Bonnie, no.
Disappointed now. I know them.
This is the story that made me want to research this whole place. So, in September 1953, Carl Hall and Bonnie Heedy executed a despicable crime. Bonnie Heedy went to a private Catholic school in Kansas City, Missouri, and picked up a child named Robert Bobby Cosgrove Greenlease Jr. under the guise that she was his aunt and his mother had had a heart attack.
I'm sorry, that's
That's
quite
five names.
That's quite the name. Holy shit. Are you sure she wasn't just trying to rescue him from his parents? Holy fuck.
5 names.
Somebody who names a kid that many names needs help.
Well, Bobby's is in quotations. Like, he was called Bobby, but like, yeah.
But he had like 5 other names.
So Bobby was the son of a multi-millionaire Cadillac dealer and auto entrepreneur, who's basically
now it's coming together. Okay.
He was basically the one who set up pretty much all of the automobile like stores like in South Dakota and like Texas or something. Like, I remember South Dakota and it was one other state, but yeah. So he had major money. Carl Hall went to a military school with Bobby's older adoptive brother and had been planning to victimize this wealthy family for a long time. So,
damn.
A nun that worked at the school called to inquire about the mother's condition, and they realized that Bobby had been abducted. So Mrs. Greenlease called her husband, who notified the chief of police, who in turn notified the FBI. After the kidnapping, Heidi and Hall demanded $600,000 for the safe return of Bobby in 24 hours. In today's money, that's $5.8 million.
That's a lot of dollars. I could buy so many trash cans with that amount of money.
Trash cans?
Trash cans?
Listen, the more trash cans you have, the less you have to stand up to walk and put your trash in the trash can. Because you have this. Just saying.
Just like a line of trash cans from your kitchen to your couch.
I mean, pretty
I
much.
hate logic so much.
I mean, am I wrong?
You're gonna sit there and you're gonna tell me that I'm wrong?
She wore a crown. She came down in
Then
a bubble.
dog. Alright.
Which is the east, bro?
Anyway. Stab him.
So basically, Greenlease told the police off, and because obviously the police and FBI are like, don't pay the ransom, like, let us do our job. And he's like, fuck you, I'm gonna pay the ransom, I want my son back. So he paid the ransom. On October 5th, so he was taken, just to remind you guys, he was taken in September, late September. And October 5th, in the last communication, the kidnappers stated they received the money and Bobby would be returned within 24 hours. Unfortunately, unknown to the family, the kidnappers had killed the boy shortly after the abduction, not even an hour, even before asking for the ransom, and buried him near the porch of Heidi's home, so basically in her backyard.
What a couple of cunts.
I told you.
I don't want to kick it with her anymore. I'm glad she's dead.
On October 5th, Hall took Heidi to an apartment where she passed out from being drunk and basically took the money and abandoned her.
Sucker.
On October 6th, a cab driver's tip led to the arrest of Hall and Heidi. Basically, he's the cab driver that drove Heidi and the boy from the school to wherever Hall was to pick them up. So he had the description of the car and everything. Led to their arrest. Hall tried spinning so many stories when he got arrested, but eventually he admitted to everything, and Heidi admitted to assisting in everything. So both entered guilty pleas in the court, and the jury came back after only an hour and 8 minutes recommending the death penalty. And that was October 30th.
Yep.
I mean, you bring children into it. Not gonna be good for you.
People.
Not
Yeah.
gonna be good for you.
On December 18th,
I
1953,
think that's the fastest I've ever heard of a jury coming back.
an hour and 8 minutes. On October 30th, so everything had taken place like at the beginning of the month, and like a month later they were like, no, we gotta get these fuckers dead.
Dude, I'm pretty sure even Ted Bundy's, like, when the jury came back, it was like 6 hours.
Yeah.
It's like 4 or 6 hours or something.
So on December 18th, 1953, they were executed together in the lethal gas chamber at Missouri State Penitentiary.
How sweet.
So now the fun part, the hauntings. So Housing Unit 1 used to be the female ward, but eventually, due to overcrowding, like, it was taken over by males. A male prisoner would complain about a woman visiting him in his cell. So, like, he would see an apparition of a woman coming in, like, through his cell, and she would, like, talk to him. And he was terrified of this. So he even tried to hang a sheet around the door so that it would, like, deter her from coming through. Obviously, it didn't work, though.
No. Aw, bless his heart.
And
moving on.
So anyways, housing unit 1, and obviously they hear like female voices and stuff like that. Housing unit 3, the punishment cells. The energy there is unsettling and violent. There is also a 8-foot shadow figure that will turn into a full apparition with its mouth open in a silent scream.
Nope. Nope.
It is recommended that females do not like go in that area by themselves.
Oh. Missouri's not far from here.
It's not far from here.
It's too far for me. Sorry.
Sorry, I can't do it.
Next time.
And actually, you can book this place for overnight investigation. Like, anyone can. Not just, like, TV shows. Anyone.
What about weddings?
You want to be married in front of the gas chamber?
Asking for a friend.
Oh, my goodness. So, housing unit 4, dungeon cells. People will feel their hair being tugged. They will also feel their ankles being grabbed, and they will get scratches.
Kinky.
Ay, ay, ay.
I said what I said. Moving on.
The gas chamber. It is said that Bonnie Heedy is still in the chamber.
But Clyde left her.
Well.
His name is Carl.
The best opportunity.
Reason being is because she was the only woman killed in that specific gas chamber.
Okay. Okay.
And a woman's voice can be heard like whispering like sweet nothings, like love whispers. And obviously she was killed with her lover. So
Taco Tuesday?
Mix that with the hair pulling and the scratching. I understand why you want to have your wedding there now.
It is also known to have many shadow figures. So shadow figures can be seen going in and out of the cells. And I actually have a story. So a correctional officer that used to work at the prison shared his story on, I think I heard him on a podcast, and I also watched a video where he like shared a story. So he was in one of the like workshops, and he was talking to a prisoner, and it was count time. So obviously during count time, nobody moves, and you like, when you're in charge of prisoners, you obviously have to keep track of how many you have. So when it's count time, everyone reports how many prisoners they have and stuff like that. So he's sitting, or he's not sitting, but he's talking to another prisoner, well, because he had already called in his count, waiting for count to get secured. And a guy in pants and a white t-shirt just walks right past them and like leaves the workshop. So obviously the CO's like, what the fuck are you doing? You're disrespecting me by not standing still for count. And he like goes after him, and he like walks out of the workshop, and he looks around and there's no one there. So he like looks up to the watchtower, because they have plenty of watchtowers, and he's like, yo, did you see someone walking out here? And the watchtower guy's like, no, what are you talking about? And so the prisoner that he was talking to was like standing at the door watching him, and like the correctional officer like turns around, and the prisoner's like, you're not gonna find that guy.
I mean, to be fair, I don't believe in ghosts, but if I were a ghost, I'd do some dumb shit like that too.
And
I'm walking during your count.
And that's Missouri State Penitentiary.
Damn. Bravissima. Now I want to go there. You want to go there with me?
No.
Fine, I'll go by myself. Better anyway. So I can go
You
to
know
that
what?
one wing.
I'll drive the getaway car, so I'll just keep the car running, So when I see you guys
It's like
running
us
out
playing
to me,
Phasmophobia. I'll stay in the van.
I'll stay in the van.
Oh my
I'll make sure you're not gonna go insane.
So, Noke story.
I did the Cecil Hotel,
Ooh.
which I honestly didn't, like, I knew about it. I didn't know as much as I know about it now. For instance, I didn't know American Horror Story Hotel season was about the Cecil Hotel. And that makes so much sense.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is it the Cecil Hotel or the Cecil Hotel?
Cecil. And
Cecil?
everything that I've heard.
I think I always just read it wrong, no matter what.
I listened to a podcast and I watched, actually, Ghost Hunters have an entire special out on Discovery Plus. It's an hour and a half long for the Cecil Hotel only. So it's like, it's supposed to be super dark and scary.
Cecil Hotel.
Doing the Cecil Hotel. So, yeah, it was opened in 1972. I'm gonna bring this down here so I can, like, oh good God, it's so big. It's so big.
That is what she said.
Sad.
Okay.
I'm glad we're all 12.
I'm a 7.
Don't look at me like that. You're 7?
The Cecil Hotel was opened in 1972. The 19-floor, 700-room hotel was originally built to be a destination for business travelers and tourists in downtown LA. This dream was dashed when the Great Depression hit just 5 years later. The hotel was located just a few steps away from what would commonly be known as Skid Row. It became a viable housing option for local transient people, which was estimated to already surpass 10,000 homeless people by the 1930s.
Wow.
This hotel was then plagued by years of tragedy. The first recorded death took place. Is my own cat distracting me right now? Absolutely. What are you doing? Okay. The first recorded death took place a little more than 2 years after its opening, when W.K. Norton overdosed on poisonous capsules in his hotel room. His death is the earliest reported suicide of the hotel, but it won't be the last. In 1962, after a fight with her husband, Pauline Otten jumped from the window of the 7th-story hotel room and landed on a pedestrian below, killing both of them.
What?
In 1960,
Catch me!
Yeah.
Oh.
He did out of the window onto somebody and killed them both.
I mean, it's not funny, but it is.
Can you imagine being the person, behind the person who got landed on? Like,
just imagining just like somebody like on their way to work or like coming home from groceries and just like
Dying
oh.
because somebody fell on you.
now there's a lot of back and forth between that, because it said that there's a lot of anger, resentment, and like horrible feelings when you go into this. That's what the Ghost Adventurers said. When they went to the hotel, like, people couldn't stay in certain rooms because they had to leave. And so, we'll say that she might have been driven to not only fight with her husband, but also throw herself out the window, not only causing her own death, but someone else's. I
think that people, when they die, they imagine, like, maybe I'll get hit by a car. That's pretty likely.
Maybe I'll die in a car crash.
So, like,
maybe I'll get hit by a fucking person flying out of the sky. That person, I feel sorry for that person, but at the same time, it's a really fucking funny way to die.
Oh my god. That had to have been on 1,000 Ways to Die when that show was still running.
Probably.
Look out for flying people, y'all.
Okay, I am on paragraph 2.
Okay,
like,
okay, we're done.
Like 30. but don't not interrupt, because it's funny.
You can't just rush past that.
You're not just gonna fly past that like you didn't just say what you just said.
Wait, what?
She flew.
Yeah. She didn't fly past that either. Okay.
Derailed.
Oh,
I'm
God.
done.
I should have saved that test for the last one, huh?
Yeah,
Probably.
really.
I went like chronological order, but here I really should have thought better about this. Okay. Ironically, in 1964, Pigeon Goldie Osgood, nicknamed because she frequently fed the pigeons in Pershing Square, was found sexually assaulted, beaten, and stabbed in her hotel room. This case still remains unsolved to this day. This is not the only unsolved case that has happened to this hotel. Also, serial killer Richard Ramirez was known to frequent Skid Row and was a resident of the hotel before his capture in 1985. It is believed that Ramirez, aka the Night Stalker, committed some of his crimes while staying at the Cecil Hotel. Ramirez had more than a dozen victims and was sentenced to 19 death sentences. Though he died of cancer while incarcerated in 2013, he was also known as a devil worshiper, which is something that is around the hotel a lot. You see pentagrams and like it's known for like satanic rituals now. Also why there's spirits. In 1991, an Australian serial killer, it's so hard for me to say that word, was also arrested after the stay at the hotel. Jack Unterweger was a magazine writer who was supposed to be on assignment in the Red Lake District. Instead, he murdered 3 female workers who did illegal things by strangling them. Upon his arrest, he hung himself before he could get arrested.
I mean, he was still working on an assignment. It was just his own.
Yeah, that was deep.
That's what she said.
Last but not least, Elizabeth Short, aka the Black Dahlia, was rumored to be seen at the bar of the Cecil Hotel just days before her murder. In 2011, the hotel changed hands and attempted to rebrand as a Stay on Main. Tried to change its name and everything, but left much of its Cecil signage. So, the hotel was designated as a historic cultural monument by the city of Los Angeles in 2017. It then closed the same year for renovation. The future of the troubled property is still unclear to this day. They're pumping a lot of money into it. They want to like renovate, like make it better, but yeah. Which is why the documentary for Ghost Hunters was so interesting, because they don't allow people into the hotel at all. And so they got like an exclusive look into it. In 2013, the Cecil Hotel gained national attention after the mysterious disappearance of Elisa Lam, a Canadian college student. This is like what we're going to be mainly focused on because creepy. Elisa was on a trip that she called her West Coast tour, when she disappeared during her stay at the Cecil Hotel. She was constantly blogging about her trip and was in contact with her parents every night, as she was only 21 and her parents were super nervous about her traveling by herself in another country, like rightfully so. When she first checked into the Cecil Hotel, she was actually staying with roommates, but then they complained about her odd behavior, so she ended up staying in a room by herself. On January 31st, she did not call in and check in with her parents that night, and they became very concerned as she had been like really good about doing that prior. So her parents called the police in the area. They expressed their concerns. The officers showed up with search dogs. However, as they didn't have a warrant, they were unable to search actual guest rooms. So they did the best they could, but the search came up empty. 2 weeks had gone by and still nothing. So the police released the last known footage of her, which is the famous video of the elevator, which we include this because I could sit here and explain it, but it's like, it's creepy. So I'm going to like short explain it, and hopefully we can just like,
and
yeah,
we can also play it as you're talking too.
That's what I was going to do.
Okay, cool. So the last footage of Elisa, that we saw Elisa was of the elevator. So basically, she enters the elevator and bends over to look at the elevator buttons. She gets like eye level with them, and her face is only inches away from the buttons. She then stands up, walks away for several moments, and waits for the door to close. The door never closes. Like, she doesn't have the door open, but it just doesn't close. So she quickly steps outside the door, looks to the left, looks to the right, and then she moves to the far corner, almost like she's trying to hide out of view of somebody. And then she stands in the middle of the door. So at that point, even if it wanted to close, it couldn't because her body's there. She steps out of the door at that point, takes one step to the left, then gets back in the elevator, then gets back out. Like, really weird movements. At no point does the door try to close. Moves over to the left side of the elevator, almost out of view of the camera at one point. Then she raises her right arm to her head, goes back to the elevator, put both arms at her head, and starts to like make frantic movements with her hands, like really odd and awkward movement. It's weird. I actually watched it, and it's just strange. At one point, it kind of looks like she's trying to sign language something, but it's not sign language. So, you know, and then she eventually just walks out of the elevator and walks away. Again, door never closes. Like, all this is happening.
Do you think
it's just weird.
maybe she had the emergency button pushed, or did she not touch a single button?
So it was like only the middle row of buttons that were like pressed. Oh, at one point she does actually go back and literally starts pressing all the buttons. Like, she's literally, and even the ones she's previously pressed were still lit up. She's just trying to press more. So it almost looks like she's being like chased, or and the elevator's just not closing. But it's weird. Yeah, we'll get back to that a little bit later. So 3 weeks, they still did not find her body, any sign of struggle. They looked at the room at this point, but something was really going weird at the hotel in general. The water pressure in all the rooms were really, really low. Guests were complaining that the water had a foul taste to it, was even dark or sometimes black. This led to the maintenance man go and check the hotel's water supply that was on the roof. And that's where he found Elisa's body in the water tank with no clothes on. And so then if you go back and you watch, like, it's got a lot of attention on the news, obviously. You watch, guests have been drinking this water for, like, days.
Yummy.
Weeks.
That's so gross.
Yeah.
So gross.
Yeah.
It's just more protein. It's fine.
Yeah. Anyway, an autopsy was conducted, and on June 15th, it was marked on Lisa's death report as an accident. 3 days later, it was abruptly changed to could not be determined, but by the time it was released to the public, it was changed back to its original finding of accident. Even though her death had been ruled as an accidental drowning caused by bipolar disorder as a significant factor, no one knows exactly how or why Elisa's body ended up in the water tank. So this is where it gets really weird. There's so many theories surrounding this. She was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. So some feel she had a manic episode, which would explain the erratic behavior a little bit on the elevator, that would then lead to take her own life. That would be horribly sad, obviously. But she had been taking her medicine. The autopsy report found that her medication was in her system. And her parents stated that there was no way she was suicidal. She had bought books that day that she went missing to take back home with her as gifts. And there are other factors like going against that theory. The door to the roof was locked and alarmed, so only a staff member could have opened that. So each thing has a rebuttal, right? So there are fire escapes. She could have taken a fire escape to get up there, maybe. But the tanks are super tall, and they were on really tall platforms, and she was 5'1". So, and on top of that, the door to the tank was 20 pounds at least. So you're talking about a 5-foot person trying to climb up on a platform to there is a ladder. You can climb up the ladder, but then trying to lift 20 pounds above your head. I don't know. It just, I mean, I guess you could. But then
wasn't the door to the water tank was also secured?
I didn't read that.
Oh, okay. Maybe.
But what's interesting is, so some reports say the door had been closed behind her, which I'm like, how the hell did the door close behind her? That doesn't make sense. But other reports say it was left open, and that's what led the maintenance man to check in the water tank was the doors open. So that was weird. That was like, those are like different like news, and like that was different people reporting things. I was like, that's strange. Anyway, another good question. Why were her clothes off? Right? Like her clothes were in the tank with her removed. So some say that there was a sandy particulate found on her clothes, which suggests she took them off before entering the water. So maybe she just wanted to go for a swim, didn't realize she wouldn't be able to get back out. Others say that she was forced to go in there, and so she took off her clothes because they became waterlogged, so she wanted to float better. I don't know. So there's basically three main theories. Is that her bipolar disorder caused a manic episode which made her take her own life. The second is that she was a victim of foul play. Someone forced her to go up there, and there were no damning things. Like she didn't have any bruises on her body. I mean, she had been in water for 3 weeks at this point. So, but the third is the elevator game. I'm really excited because I don't think either one of you have heard of the elevator game. Okay. So, this is like my spooky, like, because the Cecil Hotel is haunted. It's just supposed to be really spooky, really scary. I couldn't really find direct, like, ghosty things, but this is my creepy thing. Because it's one of those things where I kind of want to try it, but, like, also, like, hell no.
I'll do
so,
it. I know what it is.
You have to do it alone. There's rules.
Oh,
okay.
There's rules.
All right. It originated in Korea.
Okay.
First rule is you must choose a building that's at least 10 stories tall, and you must play it alone. So basically, you enter the elevator from the first floor by yourself. If anybody gets on, then understand you cannot continue from the first floor. Wait until the elevator can be taken alone. Then you press the button for the 4th floor. This must be done in a very particular order. You press the button for the 4th floor. Do not get out of the elevator when it reaches the 4th floor. Stay in the elevator and press the button for the 2nd floor. Do not get out when you reach the 2nd floor. Stay on the elevator and then press the button for the 6th floor. Do not get out when you reach the 6th floor. Remain in the elevator. Press the button for the 2nd floor. Again, weird. Don't get out of the elevator. Stay on the elevator. Press the button for the 10th floor. Some reported hearing a voice calling to them on the 2nd floor during this middle section of the ritual. Do not reply. Do not answer in any way. Do not get out until you reach the 10th floor. Stay on and press the button for the 5th floor. So do not get out of the elevator. You gotta stay on. You gotta just go up and down.
Okay.
And it's weird because people report
you have to be alone this entire time.
People have reported nobody usually interrupts them when they do it, which is really weird.
Oh,
That is
cool.
Okay.
Bet. I'm down.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
5th floor.
5th floor. It's been reported by some that a woman may enter on the 5th floor. She may appear as a stranger who wishes to engage with you. More importantly, she may appear as someone you may know. It is important that you do not acknowledge her in word or glance. If the elevator you are in is reflective, then stare at the floor and buttons only. Now, press the button to the 1st floor. If instead going towards the 1st floor, you begin to ascend to the 10th, then you've performed the ritual correctly. However, this is very important. If you instead do descend to the 1st floor, you've done something wrong. Get off at the 1st floor immediately. If that woman is on the elevator, remember to not acknowledge her. If you reach the 10th floor, you can either stay on the elevator or exit the elevator. Some have reported that upon attempting to leave the elevator, the woman, why am I having such a hard time saying that, will try at least one more time to engage with you. She may raise her voice, ask where you're going, what's wrong. She may shriek at you as you cross the door's threshold. Keep your wits about you and do not engage or look at her even out of fear. There's only one way to know whether you've traveled to the other world. So this will travel you to another dimension. You will know because you were the only person there. And that's at the 10th floor. You can get out and you can explore. We'll get to that. Okay. Traveling back to your home world. So alternatively, if you do not take the exit on the 10th floor, press the button for the first floor and keep pressing it until the elevator
I can tell
begins to move.
Peter's just overwhelmed.
Sorry. I can send this to you if you want. It's a lot.
I mean, I'm happy you send it to me, but...
Once you reach the first floor, exit immediately. Do not exit on any other floors but the first. Do not acknowledge the woman if she's on the elevator. If anyone else gets on, do not speak to them either. Remain silent. If you do not exit the elevator at the 10th floor, the elevator you used... Oh, if you do exit, the elevator you use is the only way you can return, so remember it. When you get back on, you press the buttons in the same order you did steps 2 through 8, which used you to travel to this new dimension. Take you to the 5th floor. Once you reach the 5th floor, press the button for the first floor. But don't be surprised if you ascend then to the 10th. Don't panic. Press the button of any floor, and then you gotta do it all over again.
that sounds like a pain.
Sounds like you
But
would
it
have to
describe-
have a cheat sheet like staring.
You
at,
do.
Like, okay.
Like, the ghost adventure is actually printed out a thing. It's funny because he had no idea what he was doing until they were like, they're like, here's a piece of paper.
Where's the
and he was
episode
like,
for this? I kind of want to watch it.
It's on Discovery Plus.
Which one? Which episode though?
It's not an episode. It's its own
Oh.
1 hour, 1.5 hour like special because it is creepy. The Cecil Hotel's creepy. Anyway, it's a lot. So like, I would never want to do this because I would fuck it up somehow and then panic and then yeah. So
I'm thinking of buildings that are 10 stories high that I can go do this in my town. I think 31,
the
maybe.
other world has been described by travelers as dark, but otherwise exactly like your home world. Again, you will know that it's not your world because nobody else will be there. You may see a distant red cross through a window. This may be a cross or maybe something else. Electronics usually do not work there, but some have posted videos claiming to have been taken while they were traveling. Maybe disoriented, you may feel dizzy, be vigilant, pay attention to how you're feeling, and keep your wits about you. Some says you may pass out, but then understand when you wake up, it might not be your home world. But that part like freaks me out. Like, what if you just never could ever come back, you know?
Can you only like explore on the 10th floor? You can't like go to other floors.
I mean, I'm sure you could, but how are you like? I mean, maybe you take the stairs. But like, you have to remember what elevator. It does say you can explore, but you have to remember what elevator you came into the world. Like, so that you can leave the same way.
Like, I don't want to go down 10 flights of stairs just to come back up. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Although,
So
I kind of want to film myself doing this.
print out this because I don't want to lose. I don't want to be like, where's?
You good?
This will never happen.
Elevator, guys.
I mean,
I'll take a Ouija board with me. It'll be fun.
oh my god. Anyway, so the last thing, there was huge letters on this elevator game rules regarding the woman. Do not speak to her. Do not look at her. Do not check if she's still there. She is. And I was like, anyway, so that was my like spooky thing was this whole elevator game, because if you look at the people think that she was playing it and that she may have traveled to another dimension, and that is why doors weren't shutting right. She was trying to frantically press all the buttons because she was just trying to get back home. And so she got lost.
Okay.
And she ended up in a water vat on the roof.
Interesting. That's an interesting theory.
Yeah.
I mean, that and like, or she was possessed, because that's a whole other thing about the Cecil Hotel. There were a lot of suicides that happened, and people think they were just driven to it because they were possessed by.
Interesting. I mean, I think I'm partial to the mental break, but that's just me.
Yeah, yeah, but it was. She was on her medication. Like,
Yeah, but there's no saying that she's on vacation. There's no saying that maybe she drank something or whatever, and that fucked with
Yeah.
the medication.
Or she took
You know,
like something else and it
yeah.
crossed out the medication.
maybe, but all the other toxicology reports were clear.
Yeah, but she was also in a vat for like 3 weeks.
Right. So I don't know. It's still unsolved. Like, nobody knows what happened. So it has that whole like here, like,
interesting.
Right? I don't know. I didn't know all that. So I thought it was
No,
really cool.
I had no idea that I had heard of most of the stuff that you talked about because I've looked into the Cecil Hotel, but I'd never heard of the elevator game. So that's
Yeah. That was like the thing. I was like, ooh, I kind of like, because it's supposedly like it travels you to another dimension, which kind of goes hand in hand with like what you were saying, like a parallel universe.
Yeah.
Where like you're the only one there. Like,
I think I'd be hesitant to say any elevator in a 10-story building is a portal, but you know,
you never know.
strange things have happened. I'm sure somewhere at some point. So.
But yeah, that's my story.
Well,
that's that.
I think this is a good place to wrap it up.
Yep, that was our second spooky session. How's everyone feeling?
Unconvinced.
I'm convinced.
Oh my god.
It's okay. We'll go spend the night in the gas chamber. But yeah, so that was our second spooky session.
Subscribe. Like the button.
What?
She said subscribe and like button. I barely understood it. But yeah,
hit those buttons.
If you enjoy the podcast, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and
leave us some comments of some places you want us to talk about, because you know spooky season never has to end. We could take this shiz all the way to next spooky season. I don't give a fuck.
That's
we're gonna become a haunted paranormal podcast now.
I'm down for
all
that.
of mine are just gonna be stories of me trying to convince both of you that like this shit isn't real.
You could do like mass murders and stuff like that. We could do haunted
could.
places.
Could do one on Jeffrey Dahmer, the People novel.
Yeah.
It'd be a good time.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
bye, subscribe.
that's how you want to end it.
I think she wants you to like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe, and
Comment. Do other things.
Please do leave comments of what you want us to talk about, whether it's more haunted houses or any other topics that you guys want us to talk about. And I hope you have a lovely...
all three of you better leave comments.
Childhood trauma.
Lovely...
Childhood trauma.
We got lots of those.
I don't think I'm ready for that conversation yet. I still talk to my family on a regular... No, I don't. I don't talk to them on a regular
I was gonna say.
I mean, I talk to my family on a semi-regular basis. It doesn't mean I didn't have childhood trauma.
I've become my family's therapist.
Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day, night, weekend, whenever you're watching this, and we will see you next time.
Some grime. You did really great with the outro.
I don't even know if that was an outro.
That outro was a hot mess.
I thought we were done recording, honestly.
I want to show you guys.